Welcome to Fireside Yankees. My name is Alex with my co-host here, Nick Nielsen. And today we're looking at two outfielders, maybe even talk about a couple other guys that the Yankees could target at the trade deadline. The outfield, one of our liabilities this year. Aside from Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Hicks has not played well. Joey Gallo has been wildly inconsistent. By most accounts, has also not played well. So there is a possibility that general manager Brian Cashman goes out and says, you know what, let's go get ourselves a more consistent outfielder, a good defensive player that can also provide offensively. Now, we have two players in mind that we're going to talk about specifically, and we're going to do some live mock trades with you guys to kind of get an idea of what the values of those players are worth, and if they're net positives, net negatives to their team, and what it looks like, in that sense. But these two players are vastly different. One of them being more of a contact guy, has had some success in a power hitting stance in the past. Maybe the Yankees unlock that. Another guy is a more of a power guy, and he definitely has some great qualities, a lot more team control, a lot more of a established, guy that the Yankees would bring in to be another 3-4 year type of player for them. Another one would be a 1-season rental, really just like a half-season rental at this point. So definitely different factors in play here, definitely different players, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on them in the YouTube comments below, as always. But the first guy we're going to start out with is Andrew Benintendi from the Royals, Nick. Give me some insight into Andrew Benintendi. What type of player is he, and what really would he offer the Yankees?
I mean, Benintendi is a contact-driven guy entirely. Like, he doesn't really hit for power. He's going to get a couple of extra base hits because of the way that he is able to hit a lot of line drives and connect a lot on the baseball. Like yesterday, we talked about Aaron Hicks and how he has 1 barrel on the season. Andrew Benintendi has 7, despite not having a high exit velocity or hard hit percentage. Because he's a contact hitter, it would fill that spot that the Yankees do kind of need right now. A guy that can hit and just simply put the ball in play. Like, Benintendi could run into 15, 18, 20 home runs this year. No doubt. Like, he's a very good player. But the Yankees would bring him in to be that kind of Brett Gardner-esque player that they've had in the past, with good corner outfield defense, great batted ball profile, and the ability to put the ball in play a lot and fight off pitches. That's the thing we haven't seen a lot. Like, I feel like there hasn't been like a lot of tough at-bats for pitchers against the Yankees, even when their work the count's full. Like, you take away Judge and Stanton and Donaldson, of course, honestly. And you got a lot of guys that work the count full, and then it's like immediate strikeout, or work the count full, and then they ground out, or work the count full, and then they pop up. There are no 8-pitch, 9-pitch battles as much as there used to be. And I think Benintendi would kind of help change that a little bit. He doesn't, like I said, he doesn't hit the ball extremely hard. He's in the 39th percentile for hard hit and 19th percentile for max exit velocity. So he's not going to run into one and torque it a ton. But he is very patient, doesn't swing at bad pitches, and he knows what pitches to hit. Like, that's the thing with Benintendi this year. Granted, he's batting 306, and I don't know if that's 100% maintainable. But in that 306, he's also walking a lot. I believe he's got a 9% walk rate this year, which is up 2.5% from last year. And he's hitting the ball roughly in line with how hard he did last year. So every stat for Benintendi is leaning in the positive direction. And as you mentioned, he only has 1 year of control. So the Royals likely would not want a king's ransom for Andrew Benintendi. And it'd feel good to get the former Red Sox top prospect in baseball in pinstripes and see if he could provide some magic in Fenway. Like, I think that'd be awesome to see. So I don't know. I mean, he's not the most, like, the shiniest option out there, I will say. There are definitely like probably 5, 6, 7 other outfielders that we could pursue that are better. But he is the guy that would probably cost the least. And that's why it's a really appealing potential trade here with the Royals, because you could also look at getting a bullpen arm from them as well, because the Royals suck this year. Like, they are bad. I don't know what happened. I was expecting them to be pretty good because they had a really solid young lineup and solid young bullpen. And here we are, and it's like everyone and anyone on that team is not hitting the baseball. Like, Bobby Witt, I think he will figure it out, but he's struggling. Salvi's struggling. Carlos Santana cannot hit for his life. Nicky Lopez is now batting 9th because he can't hit. Like, Whit Merrifield, like, the whole team is struggling except for one guy, and that's the one guy we should go get in Andrew Benintendi.
Yeah, and look, you put him in a situation where he's on a team that's really killing it, has the motivation. Obviously, the Yankees are in a position to contend for a World Series. Maybe that inspires him and he plays even better. When you're looking at Andrew Benintendi, the guy just curates singles, right? He hits singles all the time. He gets on base. So that's really something you'd like to see. A lot better than Aaron Hicks, who has below 30% on base percentage this year. Benintendi's sitting at 36.7%. which is obviously very solid. He's hitting over 300, 14%
Yeah.
strikeout rate. That would probably be one of the best on the Yankees if, given he was a starter.
That's huge. The 14% strikeout rate is
Right,
huge.
right.
He
And,
doesn't swing outside the zone. Like, he's in the top 10
that's right.
percentile in chase percentage and whiff percentage.
Yeah.
Like, the dude doesn't swing at bad pitches, which we can't say about one Aaron Hicks.
That is true. That is true. And look, you could do something interesting with Benintendi because you have IKF and Andrew Benintendi, two contact-oriented guys, get on base a lot, higher batting averages than, hard hit percentage, barrel percentages. So, like, what do you do with those guys? You take those guys and you slap a slugger right in between them, right? You slap a slugger like, I don't know, Joey Gallo, even though he's struggling. Like, you could move a guy down. I'm trying to think. Who do you think can really fit that role? I think Joey Gallo is the only guy on the roster that
Yeah, I
would be
mean,
low enough at the
Gallo in
bottom
the
of the
6
order.
or the 7 with
It's
Benintendi
okay.
right
It
above
makes
him or right
sense.
behind him makes a lot of sense. Because that's the other thing. Joey Gallo pinch hit yesterday and worked a walk. And it's like, well, that's thanks, Joey. That's awesome. Like, great. And then, of course, we know how it went from there. But with Joey Gallo, the threat of him hitting that home run does lead to some pitchers wanting to pitch around him. However, when you have certain guys behind him, they're not going to pitch around him if they know it's like Trevino and Hicks behind him, because they're like, well, awesome. That's 2 outs most of the time. But you get Benintendi in there, they're going to have to attack Gallo a little bit, try to get him to swing and miss, swing over those curveballs. So that way they can get to Benintendi and not worry about a guy on first base and Joey Gallo. Because this whole Yankees lineup is just built like a Death Star, where it's just the next guy is going to be just as difficult as the previous guy is for you to get out as the opposing pitcher. DJ LeMahieu batting leadoff is a very difficult out, and most of the time it happens in 5-6 pitches for the plate appearance. And then you got Aaron Judge right behind him, and the pitcher's like, shit, I just had to beat DJ with 3 disgusting pitches, and now I got to do the same against Aaron Judge. And then Anthony Rizzo, and then Giancarlo Stanton, Josh Donaldson. Then you add in Andrew Benintendi to that, and that just shifts the lineup to a completely different dimension, in my opinion. Because right now you have our biggest flaw is center field. I don't care about catcher offense. I'm like the Yankees analytics department. Catcher offense is so hard to come by. You should definitely prioritize and emphasize defense for the catching position, as the Yankees have. Sure, Higgy struggled a bit with the pass balls especially, but Trevino has been so good that I don't care. So we don't really need an offensive catcher, especially because the guys I want, like Tyler Stevenson, Sean Murphy, maybe Wilson Contreras, granted he can't play defense, they're going to cost a lot. But center fielders that have 1 year of control like Benintendi, or even a couple years of control like Bryan Reynolds, who we'll talk about, those guys are much more attainable. And you get one of those guys on the team, and that immediately shifts the dynamic of this team in a positive direction. Even though Bryan Reynolds has struggled, we'll talk about him a little bit in this episode as well. I think that the Yankees have the pieces and won't have to give up too much to get Benintendi.
Yeah, I mean, look, you look at Benintendi where he usually bats, right? He's a number 2, number 3 slot guy in the order. So maybe there's an argument to be made that you move Rizzo to 5 and you put Benintendi at 3, and then you have Stanton right behind him at 4, so you can clean up.
Then JD at 6, and that's disgusting. That's the thing. You're gonna have Donaldson, or if we get Benintendi or someone like that, maybe DJ batting 6th or 5th, and that's crazy. Like, at most teams, these guys would be their top 3 hitters. And for us, it'd be like, oh, one of you guys has to bat 5th or 6th. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, look,
Beautiful.
It's okay. If you're going to win a World Series, it's okay. But, like, I could see a lineup that looks like DJ LeMahieu, Aaron Judge, Benintendi, Giancarlo Stanton, Rizzo, then IKF, and then Josh Donaldson. Or rather, Rizzo, IKF, Josh Donaldson, because, Rizzo gets some walks. IKF gets on base, and Donaldson is known to be a slugger, right? He's known for that. So you have those guys on base, and then you have another slugger coming up in the 8 hole, the 7 hole, and then you just have your catcher kind of batting 9th. But
that's the thing. Catcher doesn't matter in this lineup.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, because if you get Benintendi or Reynolds, this team is immediately better. And then if you get Ian Happ, even, this team's immediately better. Ramon Laureano, literally any center fielder that has proven themselves a quality player is a better option for this team. Because I think Mark Feinston today sent out a report that said various MLB executives believe that Joey Gallo could get traded by the deadline. And while I can see it happening, I don't think it's incredibly likely, because if the Yankees trade Gallo, their outfield basically every day is going to be Hicks, Judge, Stanton. And that, in my opinion, is a recipe for disaster. Like, I like Stanton playing the outfield, and I like Judge playing center field, but not every single day. And then Hicks sucks. So I don't want to see Hicks then getting more at-bats because we had to trade Gallo. unless we trade Gallo for another outfielder. But that's the other thing I don't get is what team would just do a straight swap of outfielders when Gallo also is going to be on only has this year left and he's going to be wanting an extension soon.
No, what you do is this: you trade Gallo for a middling prospect, like we're about to trade for Benintendi. Both of them are rentals. You get Benintendi, you stick him in left field, then you take Aaron Judge, you move him to center, and then you have in right field you can use Marwin Gonzalez, Aaron Hicks, and Giancarlo Stanton, and just rotate those guys.
And Benintendi plays a pretty admirable, not great, pretty admirable center field defense. I think he's a much better left fielder than he is center fielder, and that's the same for Ian Happ. So maybe those two guys aren't the perfect fits for center, but they can play the corner spot, and we've seen Judge be able to play center field really nicely. So I know you mentioned earlier we're going to talk about some mock trades for this. Yep. So I don't know if you wanted to kind of take the lead on that, because there are a lot of middle guys that we could give up for Benintendi, and it wouldn't cost a lot at all.
Yeah, so let's dive into that right now. We'll take a look at some mock trades and what players could fit the bill based on baseball trade values and their numerical values that they place on these players.
Now, you see here, as Alex brought up on this beautiful MLB trade values, there's a Benintendi's worth 4.2 in terms of his value, which honestly isn't that much. And again, if he had 2 years of control, it'd probably be double. So that's the big thing here. And Alex, I believe you mentioned a specific name earlier that is that you said would just go straight across essentially for Benintendi.
Right. So the guy I have in mind would be Beck Way, right-handed pitcher, starter in the minor league system. I think he's in low A right now. This is a guy, he's like of the Hudson Valley, I think. So 4.6 to 4.2, he's nothing special. He's like a 6.8 something ERA this year. He's struggling a little bit. But he has some upside. He's hit topped out at 99 miles an hour with his fastball. He's averaging 93 to 96 this year with the fastball. So he's got some good velocity. I think it's just his location. Then he's a little bit more.
Oh, what a surprise. A Yankees pitching prospect that's got great stuff, but doesn't know how to locate it.
Exactly. So maybe the Orioles say, you know what, got the velocity. We know how to tailor that to even better location. So maybe they say Beckway, pretty similar value in terms of you get a rental and we get a high flame throwing pitcher with some upside there that we can work on and maybe develop into something interesting.
Maybe you add Elijah Dunham for the Royals. I know he's probably down there a little bit. Not super valuable mid-tier or for us to give to the Royals. Sorry. So it's like, that's the thing. Like, because this trade straight across says it makes sense. And Dunham's an outfielder, 23 years old. Also, I believe plays in high A. No, he's in double A, double A. So it's like, it wouldn't, that's the thing. Like, look, that I think is a fair trade in terms of what the Royals would want.
Right.
Because a 1-for-1, they wouldn't do that. Even if they're wanting to rebuild, they would want at least another positional player, someone that is in the outfield and that's young and they could maybe work around. And Elijah Dunham isn't a huge player for the Yankees' future, and we could give him up with Way. And if this trade is like, if the Royals were to propose this trade, you should say yes in a heartbeat. Like, absolutely. Like yesterday, we talked about potential trade packages for Bryan Reynolds, and those are going to be much, much heavier than this. So I think Benintendi's the move. Ryan Garcia loves him as well.
Yep.
I think he's the guy that would fit the mold well. He was really good in college as well. I mean, I believe he got drafted the same year as Dansby Swanson and them got drafted. So that should show you just how loaded that class was. Yeah, I think he went like 6th or 7th overall too. Like he didn't even, but that's the thing with Andrew Benintendi. He has had the pedigree. He's very good. We know what we're getting with him now. There's no more of that Benintendi try to hit 30 home runs. It's, we know what you are. You are a 4-WAR outfielder that plays good defense, is a great lefty bat that doesn't swing at bad pitches, and that we can get, as we see here, for relatively cheap. Like, that's the biggest thing to me. Don't give up the entire farm and then some for a player, unless that player is Juan Soto. Like, if you wanted to do a Soto trade and you put in our top 8 prospects for Soto, I don't give a damn. That's a deal. Work. Who cares? But that's the Yankee dream is Juan Soto. The Yankee reality is a guy like Andrew Benintendi, and slotting him anywhere in the lineup would make us infinitely better. Alex, you're muted, my man.
My bad. I was there's sirens going by, so I had to make sure that nobody was hearing that. So
New York.
Yeah, there's too many sirens, bro. It's just insane. But Benintendi, He's a monstrous improvement over Aaron Hicks right now. On base percentage, just getting on base, just his defense. At least he freaking runs to the ball. I think we like him a lot more. He's 5'9". He's a small guy. I think if he took a little bit some more pitches, he even probably would walk a little bit more.
Yeah.
His strike zone is so small. I think this is fair. Like they get 2 middling prospects with some value there. Pushes it over the edge. And the Yankees get their rental outfielder that can help them win a World Series, and he's proven, right? He's done it. He's hit double-digit home runs 4 times in his career. Yankees ask him, hey, man, increase that launch angle, hit strikes hard, and we're seeing him maybe contributing in that end a little bit more. He's only 27 years old, so it's not like
look
what
happened to DJ.
Guy.
Like DJ.
Right.
DJ, the biggest thing with DJ when we got him from Colorado was we just got to tweak your launch angle a little bit, and you're going to be a great player. And he had 2 amazing seasons, got injured last year, and this year he's been really, really solid. So if we can do something like that with Benintendi, then I'm 100% for it. Because that's the other thing. Like Benintendi's swing and his approach doesn't need any sort of help, It just needs a little bit of like oomph. Like just try to elevate the ball a little bit more, and you could be a 25 home run player consistently. So I like seeing Benintendi. I like seeing him in pinstripes. Obviously, it's not my first choice, but when you put in Bryan Reynolds here, as I see you pulled up, it's going to be a little bit more value for Bryan Reynolds. Yeah, so there it is. So
big difference, man. Bro, that's crazy
Benintendi had a 4.2 value. And I don't think that this
insane.
is 100% the end all be all value, but Bryan Reynolds has a 72.3. So we would have to give up one of our top 8 prospects and then a couple middle guys to get Bryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
and you're looking at that's worth it.
You're looking at giving up Volpe, and another player,
especially for what Pittsburgh would want for him, because what he did last year,
it's just not realistic, man. No. Cashman's not cashing in on Volpe right now. He's said too many good things about him. He's acted right. His actions have backed up the consensus that he sees him as the future shortstop of this team. Like IKF was the stopgap, and then eventually moving to third base. Josh Donaldson, 2 years. IKF. 2 years moves to third base. Volpe needs 2 years to get to the majors, and then he is our bread and butter shortstop moving forward. That is everything that Cashman has done suggests this. I can assure you he's not cashing in right now for Bryan Reynolds, who's struggling this season.
That's the other thing. Way. Like if Reynolds had started the season off just like Benintendi and they had the exact same line, his value would probably be 102.3. Because of the fact that Reynolds has struggled this year, it's come down to 72.3 for this trade. That's what's crazy is that but Reynolds' pedigree and his build and the way he plays and the fact that he's a switch hitter adds so much value, and he has like 4 years of control. So that seems it doesn't seem like a complete unlikely possibility. Because I mean, again, you mentioned this last episode. Brian Cashman has a great relationship with the Pirates, but it seems like they'd want more than what the Yankees want to give up. Similar to what happened with the A's when we were talking for Olsen at the very beginning, at the middle of the offseason, like following the lockout. They wanted, I believe, Jason or Volpe, and we're like, no. And then they ended up getting a pretty good package for him from the Braves. Granted, Pache can't hit, but that's whatever. So my point is that these teams that are bad and have these star players at positional, like very valuable positions, know that. Like if we called Pittsburgh and wanted David Bednar, it would be like a very simple prospect trade. But if we wanted Bryan Reynolds, it would be, you need to give us 2 of your top 10 prospects for Bryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's worth it at all.
It's not. He's just not proven enough. You know what I mean? Like you look at him, his numbers, his first season, his rookie season, really, he was phenomenal. Hit 314. Then he dipped down all the way to 189. And then he's back up to 302. And now he's at 214. Like, are you really going to sell out?
Player.
He's a weirdly interesting player. He's hit 24 homers one time, but like that's not really enough for what the Yankees like. His strikeout rate's not that bad. I mean, 23.6%, not bad. He walks a good amount. His on-base percentage is 313. Last year was 390. So like you've seen him play at an elite level. The problem is he hasn't done it for 2 consecutive seasons yet. He's like elite, not elite, elite, not elite. So like, why are we about to give up our top prospect for a guy that
exactly like he's not a consistent
he's not
star.
Juan Soto.
I think he's a star in the making, and I think that if he turns it around this season as another really good year, then let's talk about it in the offseason, because by that time the Pirates will really know what they want to do. So it's like that's the other thing. I don't know if the Yankees are going to rush into making a deal right now, especially maybe they wait until the deadline, but there are things that do need to be addressed, and the outfield spot, corner, center, whichever one you want to say it is, definitely needs to be addressed. We cannot, and I know Florial is very appealing because especially how much he's like torched the baseball. And Ryan Garcia posted a tweet earlier today that he has as many barrels this year as Aaron Hicks. And that's pretty awesome.
In one
Miguel
game.
Andujar has as many hits this month as Aaron Hicks, and he got optioned down like 2.5, 3 weeks ago. So that's very cool. So it's like, that's the thing though. We need someone to take that spot. Florial may not be the long-term option. If he's not, trade him. Get a guy that is the long-term option. Address it. Don't just let it fester and get to the point of no return to where you look at the Yankees and you now say, okay, our shortstop is a contact hitting guy that's not really great at walking and can't slug. So we can pitch to him a certain way. Our catcher can't hit at all, really. He may run into one every now and then. And then now you add to that a center fielder that can't do anything in Aaron Hicks right now. That's 3 bad spots in the lineup. And that's with catcher and shortstop, IKF's been a little bit above average at shortstop, and catcher has been godly. Center field has been meh. So it's like, what is this? We're sacrificing not only offense, but defense as well. And getting Benintendi, or even if they overpay for Reynolds, I wouldn't be too upset because at least it would be a positional need. And at least it's a guy that we know has the potential to be good. Like, I wouldn't want them to go give up this and then some for some mid-tier player. Like, that's the thing. I've seen it in the past where prospects are like the Javier Baez trade last year for the Mets was one of the craziest trades I've seen, where they gave up Pete Crow Armstrong, who was like a top 5, top 7 prospect in baseball, for a half year of Javier Baez. And he was all right, yes, but that's not a trade that I want to see the Yankees do. I don't want to see the Yankees give up their top 2 or 3 prospects for a guy that's not going to be there next year. So that's the thing. That's what the Benintendi trade. That's why I love it. Like Beck Way and Elijah Dunham for Andrew Benintendi, sign me up.
Yeah, I agree. Look, when you're looking at it, you kind of hit it on the head. You take the rental now, because if the Yankees are really trying to win a World Series and they feel like they can, Brian Cashman's done a good job for most of the positions, right? There's a couple spots. Center field, notably, is the biggest weakness. Then maybe you want to add another bullpen piece to push it over the edge, right? So just leave it at that. Fill those. You don't have to think 2 or 3 years down the road. You just have to think about winning this season. So get your rental. You know what I mean?
Once you extend Judge, that's
over.
That's huge. And if we win a World Series this year and extend Judge, we're going to have some money coming off the books. Donaldson's contract's going to be coming off the books. I don't know what we do with Aaron Hicks, but that could be a lot of freed up money. Gallo's not going to be extended, very likely. So it's like we're going to have a lot of money to kind of spend around.
We will,
aside from addressing just Aaron Judge. Because that's the other thing. Zach Britton's contract comes off the books. Aroldis Chapman's contract comes off the books. Like, we're going to have like $35-40 million just from the bullpen that we're going to be able to allocate elsewhere. So it's like, if Benintendi comes over and does really well and helps lead us to a World Series title, maybe we see an Andrew Benintendi extension as well. I don't know. But the thing is that getting those guys that could be players that are potential extended prospects for us, I guess, like, I'm not trying to say prospects as in prospects, but guys we look at extending, is huge. Because that's the other thing. You don't want to trade for a guy that you think's just going to try to get you there, like the A's did with Marte last year. That trade made no sense. They traded Jesus Luzardo for Starling Marte to help lead them to a wild card, and then they didn't even make the wild card. If we make a trade like that, I'm going to lose my mind. So it's like, that's the thing. You got to be smart with the trades. The Yankees know what they have. We have a very good team, and there are teams out there that are struggling a ton that we can try to take advantage of in a way. And getting Benintendi for 2 mid-tier prospects and potentially adding in someone like, I don't know, Payamps or Scott Barlow or Josh Stamont, maybe Amir Garrett, maybe they just flip him again. Like, you could look at getting a bullpen arm with Benintendi. Same with Reynolds. You could try to get someone like David Bednar. Like, I know it would cost a lot more, but if the Yankees want to go down that route and give up the King's ransom for Bryan Reynolds, get a bullpen arm back too. You know? Like, I don't know.
I agree.
Lots of options. The Yankees have to do something, though. Like, come deadline day, we cannot be seeing Aaron Hicks with 250, 240 plate appearances and a sub 210 batting average. We cannot be seeing this every day.
Yeah, no, you're right. And look, what should happen over the next couple of weeks is Brian Cashman should be talking to all these different people about Bryan Reynolds, about Andrew Benintendi. And in the meantime, give Estevan Florial a chance, for goodness sake. It's about time. He's 24 years old. You know, he's playing well this season.
Very well.
And I would argue that, you know, maybe some statistics aren't going to appear at the major league levels, that he's going to struggle in some ways. But
sure,
look, he just needs to see reps. like at least you're putting time into a player who's actually going to get better instead of Aaron Hicks, who's just getting worse.
That's
Right.
the
So
sad
like
thing. Like, it's not like he's getting better.
that's the
There's nothing that's
logic.
good. We looked at it yesterday, and I hate to say it, but there's literally the only good thing about Aaron Hicks this season right now is his walk percentage. That's it. Like, everything
That's
else
it.
is just so much worse than it was in his heydays. Like 2018, 2019, yes, I loved Aaron Hicks. Of course. How couldn't you? He was really good. He had like a 4.7 F worst season for us one of those years. And now it's like he's such a shell of himself that I don't think it is, oh, he's just trying to figure it out. I think it is he just doesn't have what it takes to be an everyday contributive ball player anymore.
He's not focused, man. I mean, he's not focused. His power isn't there anymore. He's just totally withered away. So
Yep.
unless he can like mount a magisterial return beyond proportion, I don't know how we can justify keeping him as the regular everyday starter. But
No, we can't.
guys, I would love to hear your opinions below on YouTube. Let us know what you think about Bryan Reynolds, Andrew Benintendi. If there's another guy you have in mind who might fit the bill that we can talk about. Much love as always for tuning into Fireside Yankees. Make sure to like and subscribe as always. And we will catch you guys on the next episode.